So, as we know, or at least those of you who've been watching videos about the fearful avoidant individual, will know and recognize that there is a problem with trust in relationships. So, what can one with this attachment style do to kind of work on building trust in relationships? This is Christine, your relationship and mindset master doctor, and your leverage for change. Guys, before I start, let me remind you please to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That way you will be notified as soon as I upload a new video. What are some of the ways? What are some of the ways that someone with the fearful avoidant attachment style, how can they learn or practice to develop trust in relationships? The first thing with any kind of change, guys, is that you need to be aware of the problem, that you do have a problem trusting in relationships, right? And if you're not aware of it, because a lot of times you don't even recognize it, because you've been doing this from a subconscious perspective, it's running in the background on a subconscious level, and you don't realize that you don't really trust relationships, right? So the first thing to do is to come into awareness that you in fact have a problem trusting relationships. And one way that you can do this is by looking back at your past relationships and really be very, just don't try to force anything, but try to recognize what are the common behaviors, what are the common feelings that you had in those relationships when you feel like you had to bolt and leave because you didn't trust it. What was it? What were these triggers? What were the triggers that cause you to behave in a manner that you would leave a relationship, or you would maybe accuse your partner of something in a relationship, whatever it might be. But this awareness is very important at the beginning, because these are the things that you are going to have to change in the future, right? So basically you have to be honest with yourself, because you know what, pretending like there's no problem is not going to help you. And if you actually do want to help yourself by working on these issues, you have to really be honest with yourself, right? And the problem is that with this attachment style, you do have a problem being honest with yourself, right, about your feelings and your emotions. So basically you have to come to terms with acknowledging and accepting those feelings that you're feeling, that they are true, and not try to make excuses for them and not try to kind of push them away. You have to actually come to the place where you can actually acknowledge what the emotions are that you're feeling, the feelings that you're feeling, why you're feeling it, what's triggering them. All of that, you have to be honest with yourselves. And so this is going to be a challenge, because as I said before, you do have a problem being honest with yourself, right? The next thing is you also have an issue communicating your needs, because you feel that to ask someone to do something is just like too needy sometimes, right? You feel like you should be doing it yourself, and you feel it that you're not going, that it's something that if you do that, then you may be too dependent on that person. So you always what you normally do, not always, what you normally do is that you create a lot of misunderstanding and mistrust when you're not able to communicate your needs, because what you're doing is sometimes is that you're expecting the other individual to kind of almost like read your mind. Remember that this is also a trait of the anxious preoccupied, and because you have both sides of these two different attachment styles, which is the dismissive and the anxious, you are going to be operating from the perspective of say for example you're in a relationship with somebody who's dismissive. You're going to be acting from this anxious side, where you believe that someone should be reading your mind and because they know you so much, they should be able to tell what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and address that you don't have to communicate those needs to that person. But nobody can read your mind, no matter how well they know you. So you have to be really clear in communicating your needs in a respectful way and in a kind way. And actually trust that this person can meet your needs and want to meet your needs, right? This is what relationships are all about. It should be a reciprocal thing for each partner to want to meet the needs of the other partner, as long as it's possible for them to do that, right? Of course, the other thing that you have to practice is vulnerability, because remember, this is one of the this is one of your shortfalls when it comes to being in relationships. You fear, and you tend to keep your guard up, because you want to avoid feeling or becoming vulnerable or feeling vulnerable to anybody. So therefore, but this is an essential part of any relationship, guys. So you have to work on this. So maybe you can take little tiny steps by at first just sharing small things, that are not as important first, maybe for you, that will hurt you if somebody does actually tell it the whole world about what you said or make fun of you. Share tiny things that is not too painful, that will not be too painful if it is something that somebody has learned about, right? Share these small things and build on those small things as you go forward, as you develop that kind of a strength to move forward, and develop that muscle memory for trusting somebody else. But it is something that you have to do on a regular basis, because anytime you're doing, just like when you work out and you're building muscle, guys, it has to be a regular, consistent effort. It's the same thing. You're building this muscle of being vulnerable in your relationships. And so it's going to take practice. All of these things I'm telling you is going to take practice, consistency. You have to do it all the time, every time. And if you even make a mistake and fall, then get back up again and just get back on the horse, and just keep practicing it, guys, because this is the only way that you will come to a place where you're going to be comfortable being vulnerable and communicating your needs in your relationships. Also, it's important for you to practice active listening, right? It's crucial for any relationship, and it does involve you paying attention to your partner, asking clarifying questions and responding thoughtfully. This shows your partner that you value their thoughts and feelings, and this will help to build trust as well, because if you're listening to your partner, then they will feel comfortable also telling you things. Someone won't keep telling you things if they're going to feel uncomforted or that you don't want to hear anything from them. They're not going to tell you that. So active listening by practicing these things, asking clarifying questions, responding thoughtfully, and just listening, paying attention to them, face to face, eye to eye, right? This will help you to also build that trust in your relationships. Of course, guys, one of the biggest problems that the fearful avoidant individual has, and it also translates to the anxious as well, is setting boundaries. There is a problem that you guys have setting boundaries, because at the basic level, you feel, both of you, the fearful and the anxious, feel that you have to please others for them to like you, for you to feel, somehow you feel you have to go above and beyond at the expense of your own comfort and your own needs. I'm not saying you're not to help others. That is something that we all need to help each other, right? But you will go beyond, over and beyond, and go out of your way to really go and allow to do things, to be there for everybody else, and you kind of abandon yourself in the process. The other thing is that you will allow others to cross boundaries that makes you uncomfortable, right? You may say, I can't do this then, but they will ask you anyway because they know that you can't say no, right? They've had experience with that. And one of the important things in setting boundaries is also following up by maintaining them, because a lot of people you can set any boundary you want, but if you're going to fall and break when somebody comes and actually try and test those boundaries again, then you're just going to go right back to where you were before. So when you set boundaries, guys, you have to really maintain those boundaries by being strong and saying, make sure that when you're setting those boundaries, you know that you can maintain them. Because if you don't, it's just going to be it's ridiculous, and they're going to say, you know, well, all I have to do is just do it. Well, I don't even listen to what they're saying. It's probably what they'll think. You know, if I ask again, they're going to do it. They just can't say no, right? So you have to really be able to be strong once you set your boundaries, to be able to maintain those boundaries by standing your ground and saying, no, I can't do that. All right. So the next thing you can do, guys, is to really seek therapy. If you're struggling with doing all these things on your own, which a lot of individuals can't, because what I find is that when you are doing these things, especially since you've never done it before, the accountability to a therapist or a coach like myself is very important, and also someone who can keep you on track, somebody you know that you have that accountability to, so you will more want to do the thing, because you know that somebody's going to their therapist or your coach is going to ask you, how did that go, what's happening, what's going on. And if they're not seeing the progress in that area, then they know that you're not practicing what you're doing, what you're saying you're doing, right? Or they can also give you different tools and different things to do that will help you along the path. One thing I really want to make sure that you understand, though, is that any of these things, any change that you're planning to do, any change in any area of your life, there's going to be a time when you fail. There's going to be a time when you fail at something, guys. And you know what I see with a lot of my clients is that they will become so depressed and despondent because they've failed at this one thing, but they've excelled at others, but they never focus on what they've excelled at or done well at. They will focus on they will focus more on their failures and their shortcomings. And so I want to really kind of encourage you and remind you that you're human, and that these things that the way that you've been living in the past you're following a certain pattern and habit, and these were habits that were formed and ingrained and wired into your subconscious, that it's going to take time. It's going to take failing and getting back up again, failing and getting back up again. But the consistency of always moving forward is the important thing. All right. So just to encourage you that, and to remind you that it's not a fail-safe thing that you do it once and it's going to work. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take consistency. So guys, I hope that you learned something new today, and how you can, especially someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style, how you can move forward with kind of working on these issues, these traits that you have that can cause havoc in your relationships. This is Christine, your relationship and mindset mastery doctor, and your leverage for change. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.